8 teams. One shot, one opportunity to seize everything they've ever wanted. Yes, 50,000 may be on the line, but they have already qualified for the qualifier to get to the qualifier for the major. It's a lot of qualifications, and I've got some guys alongside me who have plenty of qualifications themselves. It's none other than Vendetta and Natu. I'm your host, Alex Machine Richardson. Gents, color coordinated as always, and I'm in the PGL studio.
Yeah.
Isn't this cool?
This is the first time for me as well.
It's so pretty. There's so many lights everywhere.
Exactly. That's like threw me off at the start. It feels super fancy inside here.
It really does. Natu, you're of course like the veteran. He actually walked into the studio and was like, "This is my seat."
We've been sitting here for a solid couple of years.
Yeah.
Almost. So
but I saw you wearing a cowboy hat in that seat at one point. So you've mixed things up a little bit.
Well,
here.
I'm not sure we should be talking about that broadcast altogether because it was something else. Put it that way.
Descended into insanity. But gentlemen, this is of course the minor. Of course, teams trying to get to the qualification for the major. But before we start talking about that, we've got plenty of time to do so. I'd like to just talk about what's new in CS:GO. Right? I mean, our viewers likely have been keeping up to date with the Reddits and the various news articles. But I do think it's worth just kind of starting a bit of a forum for discussion about what's new in our favorite game. However, I think we have to start with some of the teams that are here. I mean, that God-sent Fnatic shuffle, which we kind of saw coming.
Yeah, we kind of saw it coming. I don't think we saw the second part of Fnatic's swap happening, really. Well, I guess it was kind of expected. People expected Venta to be out when the swap with Crims happened, but obviously that was Lekra instead, and now it's announced that Disco Doppelin eventually left Epsilon to join Fnatic.
Right.
Pretty big change. I guess Fnatic, they do have the luxury of having a bit of time before the major, seeing how they're already qualified, so they should be in good shape come January.
It's an easy way to qualify, isn't it, Natu? Just make a roster change.
Exactly. Make sure you have that core 3, right?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's it kind of looked like Venton was finally getting into the groove of things for Fnatic at times, right? Like he was really hitting a stride. But then again, I think Fnatic doesn't seem to be settling for anything. So Disco Doppelin, I think, is definitely going to be improvement. It's going to add a new layer, a new dynamic to the team, and we'll see in a time of NIP not picking him up. I think Tommy Lerpis was talking about on Twitter if in a year's time we're going to be looking back at this and this was like a new Olaf or that sort of a player surfacing.
But I mean, it's interesting with Doppelin as well. Did you guys see the Reddit thread today? It was heartwarming. It's so endearing. The top of the front page of Reddit is Doppelin posting 2 years ago on the ESEA forums. You guys can find it if you do head to the CSGO Reddit. And it's literally, "Hi, my name is Disco Doppelin. I'm 19 years old and I like long walks on the beach and I really want to make a team Supreme Global level. And now he's just joined Fnatic. Like, this is just so cool that this is happening still."
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
That's pretty unthinkable.
Yeah, so I mean, Epsilon, he ran away with it. That was kind of his big break, and now he's rocking that. But I mean, what else is new? You guys have just got back, but were both of you in Singapore?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
how Malaysia, was that? It was very warm, very humid, but very, very good, like very fun.
I saw some pretty photos.
Yeah, no, there's pretty location, insane studio.
Nuts.
Like we've been to studios, but this was like a proper movie set studio kind of deal, which just like was massive. So absolutely insane. Had some pretty good CS as well.
Yeah, well, what was the outcome then over in Asia?
So Tyloo ended up winning after a bit of a bump in the road initially in the brackets, and Renegades ended up taking the second spot there.
The Renegades of Funk.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't too far off if VG could have easily beaten Tyloo. I mean, they should have beaten them on catch, a game that we all got
brain tumors. All right, we've hit a bit of a nerve here, boys.
But to be fair, that's kind of like a PGL tradition thing where the minor championships that you do have at least one game that goes 65 plus rounds.
Yeah.
So we're in for a long haul here.
Yeah, I mean, isn't this studio is actually named like the seventh? What is it called?
Seventh Circle of Hell.
Seventh Circle of Hell, because the most overtimes were in this very studio.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is a beautiful studio, and now we have to talk about what on earth we're going to be talking about over the next 3 days. It is, of course, the minor. Some teams have been invited, some teams have qualified to get to this opportunity to then qualify for the qualifier. It does feel silly to say, but that's just how it works. And of course, it does mean the fact that it is available to everyone means that you and 4 of your friends could very well be here and could very well make the major. That's the beauty of this.
I feel like next time we're going to be there.
Yeah, we should do it. Make a little mixed team.
Well, I mean, our Face It Pug, right? Like we've been getting good results whenever we played, like 3 months ago.
I think we can all agree, though, that the level of teams in the minors has kept getting better and better. Like, compared to the first time, now we were looking at a very, very different kind of roster of teams.
I mean, let me just run you through who is a 10. You can see Godsent, Heroic, Hellraisers, and Space Soldiers. Those 4 teams on the left were invited to this minor. On the right, you can see the ones that battled through qualification. Epsilon, without Disco Doppelin. Oh, no. Alternate Attax. I wrote them down LDLC, and the last one, of course. Now, this is a team you might be familiar with, Natu. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, I think I've heard of them
Yeah,
before.
apparently things are relatively easy for Ents. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Is it
It always is.
Is it going to be easy for Ents at this one?
Obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
That's how we rock.
No bias, of course.
Halvor, I think
None.
we're going to basically not allow him to analyze anything
Oh,
to do
yeah.
with Ents. Like,
I think we pretty much have to, otherwise we're going to end up with...
Well, I had to cast Ends last minor. It wasn't fun at all. I hated it.
yeah, okay.
It was so horrible.
I bet
can
it's
definitely
difficult.
see-
It's
yeah,
like watching your children play on the playground. You're like, no, no, not a monkey bars. Oh no.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
gonna
he
keep
might
it
have a
very
different
impartial.
approach to it. It's more like he wants to run into the next room and actually start punching people more than just being like, like don't hurt yourself.
Gets
It's more
his
like
do
I'm
not-
going to hurt you.
Yeah, get
If you
do
don't-
not peek bat that
Yeah,
Scoots
exactly.
keeps talking about. That's a good one.
Or a taser.
Oh, okay, all right. So
They do things differently in Finland.
yeah, but let's see what they're battling
Rough
for
luck, rough
anyway. These guys, not only are they looking for a spot, they're also looking for a good chunk of change. Over the next 3 days, they'll have a chance to battle for $50,000. Not too shabby to put in the back pocket. Of course, for some of these teams, the lesser-known teams, this is actually one of the more kind of prestigious tournaments that they'll be attending. But you can see 30,000 and a spot at the offline qualifier, of course, for E-League Major in January. And following that, second place gets the same, but 15. And even if you are, it's a little bit of a commiseration prize. You get the wooden spoon if you do get third, and that will be, of course, just 5,000 and no spot in the major for you. But we do have two groups. They're going to be played parallel, so you won't necessarily be seeing all of the games, at least on this stream. We'll be updating you, but there is a secondary stream brought to you by some of the guys of the community, so you will at least get to see all of the CS.
Yep.
What's like a matchup that you guys are most looking forward to, or rather a team that you've got your eye on into this one?
I have two teams. Well, if we want to focus on the group that we're going to be showing on this
Let's do
stream,
that, yeah.
for me it's two specific teams, and that's LDLC, just mainly because I'm an insane existence fanboy. Like there's no
I'm
point
aware
in
of this,
no point in trying to hide that. And Godsend, I think obviously with the recent roster swap and just their general form as of late. When you look at the roster, you think like, well, this should be a lock-in for the offline qualifiers in Atlanta, but you don't really know. So seeing how they are actually going to progress, how they're going to deal with the fact that they more or less had to reset whatever progress they were making with Crims is obviously going to be interesting to see.
I mean, we can bring up Group A, Natu, and you can point out anyone else that does catch your eye. But I mean, it is where we do see Godsent reside. Yes, LDLC are exciting, so that's the Vendetta matchup there. But Space Soldiers and Attax are not to be overlooked.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, Attax just coming off of winning ESWC. Obviously, I think the level of teams was probably a little lesser than here, but still, I mean, they had a good run. They only lost one map in that tournament, so I mean, you've done pretty good for yourself if you managed to do that. Space Soldiers also, I think they've been on an uprise since they won Asus ROG tournament we did in August. And I mean, you really have a lot of individuals now in that team. Everyone kept talking about Xantares for the longest time, but now you have Despy, you have Paz chiming in, and when you have that kind of a trio going for you, I mean, things can happen. So I think it's an interesting tournament in general because there's also like not just only Godsend, but also you have Heroic with the roster change.
Yeah.
I think it's a big roster change too, because Nico coming in and was going to have a lot of firepower, but Glaive, I'm sure he was like a wingman for Snappy, right?
Yeah,
so that's definitely going to be a bit of a curveball for them. And then obviously there's a lot of teams that just are in a situation where they're not 100% comfortable already.
Well, I mean, let's take a look at where Heroic do reside. Of course, Group B, we're going to be seeing Heroic with that big roster change Natu has been talking about, going to be starting versus Epsilon, and they are no stranger to roster changes either.
Yeah, exactly.
Losing Disco Doppler, and that's going to be intriguing to see who has been hamstrung less, almost, as they do start off with their first best of one. And outside of that, you get Hellraisers and Ents. Doesn't look like it's going to be too easy for Ents, given that Hellraisers haven't been discussed too far with us on the desk. But I mean, this is one of the bigger names actually at the minor, right? I mean, these guys, these have done damage in the past.
Yeah, exactly. The last one they came second at, they lost to Dignitas in the final, but they made it into the major qualifier. Obviously, since they've lost Oscar, they have Dead Fox now on the team, and they actually look like a pretty.
I think they're a better team now.
I think
I
so
agree.
too.
Exactly.
I think
they are
they're
more of a team now.
Honestly, these are my early favorites to just win the. Win this tournament. Well, walkthrough might be a tad
generous.
Yeah, but no,
Cocky,
I would say they are the best team, judging by form and how they've actually played, because we did see them at Epicenter as well. Even though they didn't make it through the groups, which was extremely tough to do given the teams that were there, they put up a really, really solid fight. They actually played like super good CS for the better part of it. It wasn't like they just showed up, got stomped, and then left again. Yeah. So that was really encouraging to see, especially with the fact that they had recently made a roster change.
Yeah. And also, I mean, it's their CT sides that are really good. They're dynamic. They're really good at being aggressive. And we know Angel likes to be pushing everywhere, every single round.
Yeah,
their problems were T sides. They were slightly one-dimensional, but I think they will get away with some of that against this level of opposition compared to like the teams they had to face at Epic Center. So I agree. I think Hellraisers are looking pretty good for this tournament.
Interesting. Okay, I mean, well, we have to highlight how we're going to be seeing this, in what order as well, so you guys can go ahead and book out when you're going to be joining us here on the PGL stream. And this is how it does break down. It does look like an awful lot of information, but I'll hopefully help you digest it. You can see that we are going to be bringing you Group A. So Space Soldiers and Attax are preparing in our studio right here, right now, but alongside that, if you're an Epsilon or Heroic fan, that'll be available on the other stream. Godsend LDLC following that one, and then we start moving into our best of threes after the upper bracket final. You get your elimination and decider played best of three later on tonight. So it should be a rather long day of fantastic CS. I say fantastic with a pinch of salt. It depends which side of Godsend do show up. We've seen these guys be utterly demoralized, actually, in the past, but you can see even Hellraisers and Ents, we played second on that second stream. But, I mean, I feel like these are the main storylines coming into today, or coming into this tournament as a whole, is Godsend seem to be treating this like they shouldn't have to be here. At least from what I've seen in social media.
It does seem like it.
It does, right? Like they kind of... Was it JW? Did you see his tweet?
I was like, I always wanted to win a minor. Like,
no, I've always had a minor title under my belt.
Yeah, I was like...
Cappuccino.
No, I mean, it feels to me like they just set off on the wrong foot from the get-go. They thought it would be, the same old stuff. They could just go back to their old habits and it would all work out. But then eventually realizing... what's going on? We don't have Olaf on our team, I guess those Olaf and JW actually, and then a bit of Flusha were the ones that would bail them out in that Fnatic lineup in a lot of situations where the time would wind down to like the last 45 to 30 seconds and they had absolutely nothing going for them. But just magic happened. One of those guys would just go ham, get an entry somewhere, and they're really good at just adapting to that situation when they get the man advantage. But now they don't have that impact so far in this team. It feels to me like they're lacking entry power.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good way to summarize it. I do think this has been a great exercise in showing the power of a roster change and the power of a mindset. Like if you look at the names, you look at Pronax, everyone used to scream his name from the rooftops in terms of in-game leadership, and he's got firepower behind him. JW, Flusha, Schneider, these are big names, and yet we aren't seeing it translate directly into results. I'm looking forward to seeing how that does play out for them into this tournament. But another name that hasn't really been spoken about too much is the fact that the Heroic team have just lost Glaive. Let's explore that just for a moment then, to highlight to people at home how this may very well affect them. Yeah,
so obviously, what came out as a bit of a surprise for a lot of us when they kind of told everyone who's doing the in-game leading and everything, it wasn't Glaive. No. When that was kind of what just everyone assumed because he had done it in the past and he'd been very successful with it as well. So it was kind of the natural choice for people to assume that he was still doing it. But Snappy has been the in-game leader. But where this is going to affect Heroic a lot is the fact that even though Glaive wasn't the designated in-game leader, he was the one doing the mid-round calls for Heroic. Yeah. So Snappy would do initial strat calls and that type of thing, and basically go through the set executes and smoke setups, etc. that they had, and Glaive would do everything from there on and out. So obviously that's going to be a big transition for Snappy, and quite big shoes to fill as well, that he's going to have to really get, grab the reins of really fast if they're going to have any sort of success.
I mean, especially because they made that statement, didn't they? At the start of the year, they said, in fact, I believe it was Glaive who was quoted, and he said, we're not going anywhere, no roster changes, we've signed a year-long contract, and we're going to be the best team in Denmark at the end of the year. And
BRB.
I mean, the fact of the matter is where the money is, people are going to go there. Other teams are going to be the feeder teams.
And obviously, Heroic ended up in a bit of a different scenario as well, because when they came out, obviously announcing Heroic and doing pretty well for themselves, they were actually finding success. They were playing better than Astralis.
Sure. I agree. And they were beating Astralis too.
Yeah, exactly.
And then those damn Dignitas boys.
Yeah, and they took all the limelight.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's often overlooked fact that an in-game leader needs a wingman. He needs someone that's not, if he's not doing mid-round calling, at least you're gonna have to have a guy who's good at giving you the right information at the right time, and even make a call here and there if need be. Right. So I think that's in short term, especially. I think it's gonna hurt Heroic quite a bit actually. Nico, I think coming in, new kid on the block, a lot of firepower. I think once he gets really adjusted, things are going okay for them. I feel like I think this might work out in the long term, but finding how this is going to work in this short period of time.
Days, yeah.
I mean, ESWC was a bit of a rough one for them already. Definitely. So I'm not super hopeful for them coming into this one. It's going to be a bit of time.
Justified. I think this is kind of the lull period we expected from Heroic in any case, because it happens with every team that breaks out onto the scene and actually does well at a couple of tournaments, is that people start looking at them. Same thing happened with Dignitas after doing really well at Leipzig. then people are like, oh, we should probably just look into
Look
what
at
these
them.
guys, exactly, like see what they're doing instead of just assuming that this is going to be an easy win. And obviously at that point it gets a lot harder. So if you just slug through that, even though you don't necessarily get the results you want and you manage to learn something from it, that's when you can see how good the team actually is. So I guess that's the period we're going to see now from Heroic.
Tempo Storm springs to mind as well.
Yeah.
Because the Brazilians, everyone was like, holy, like, these guys are amazing. And then, hang on, let's look at them.
They're mortal.
They're actually quite readable. Yeah, and that was
and then they joined Immortals.
Yeah.
No, but the same applies to all these new teams coming in, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you do damage, then you get research.
You get scouts.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, we're going to do some research on our first matchup now. That's what's coming up. We have got Alternate Attacks going up against Space Soldiers. That's going to be our first game for us to talk about. And I mean, it's one team who was invited, Space Soldiers, going up against a team that battled through the qualifier, which is, of course, Alternate Attacks, hailing from Germany. So to set the scene for this one, I think we have to start by addressing Space Soldiers and this discussion always seems to, I think, want to get it out of the way now, right? Is Space Soldiers coming into this one have Xantares, who has been treated by a god by the community because of his stats on HLTV and because of the performances he can put up. Is it genuinely, is this the kind of discussion we start having, like, why is he still playing for them?
I think obviously, like, his stats is very inflated because of, HLTV started basically tracking stats for a lot more games than just the tier 1 games that you have, right? So he's going to be playing a lot of not necessarily great teams. And
nice sugarcoating there.
Yeah, try to be nice. But obviously that's going to do a lot, especially because he is a legitimately really, really good player.
Yeah.
He's going to take full advantage of that. So he's just going to feast on it to the point where it looks like he is the greatest player alive, even though that's not the actual case. But
he has also made the statement as well. To clarify, he made the statement like, I have had plenty of offers, but I want to make my home side stronger. I would like to represent my country. I mean, that's kind of cool. Alu did try to do that.
Exactly. That's like, that was, I think it weighs a lot in players' evaluation when you think about a choice. I mean, he had the opportunity to go to, Alu had the opportunity to go to Liquid, obviously, would have been Wound to NA and all that stuff. But then on the other side, building something on your home country, it's important to these guys, right? Yeah. But now he has, actually, Xantares, when you think about it, he has some guys to play with there, right?
Yeah.
Paz and Despi, big especially, dogs, yeah. They've really risen to the occasion. And I think that's something, they've definitely done progress in the last year or so. I mean, they used to be a team that would go to Copenhagen Games and not get through the qualification phase into being a very prominent tier 2 team.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, the best part for them, and this is obviously, thinking worst case scenario, really, and that is if they were to make a roster change as well, they do actually have upcoming talent in Turkey as well, in Calix especially.
That's true.
So, even if it doesn't necessarily work out with this current lineup, it's not like he's out of options at that point either, which is where a lot of people who come from smaller teams would find themselves in that situation. And that's when you start, regretting your past decisions of maybe turning down this and this team. But it's understandable that Xantares wants to stay within his region, simply because, first off, it's what Yuna was talking about, the fact that it's a completely different environment. So it doesn't necessarily allow you to play at the same level that you did at home.
And of course, we're going to be meeting them right here, right now. Space Soldiers are the first roster for us to introduce. So let's go ahead and have a quick look at how these 5 boys are looking. Space Soldiers then are going to be preparing themselves to jump into battle versus Alternate Attacks, and they have got a lot on their plate to not only represent their country, one of the only teams that actually do hail from Turkey and can battle with the best. Of course, here we've just described them on the desk as a T2 team, but you already have highlighted that there's more to this roster than may meet the eye. You've just addressed the Paz situation. We just saw his face up on screen, and I mean, these names are quite new to Space Soldiers, right? Like, I mean, Natu, in terms of new, they've actually broken out now and are looking like they can compete alongside Xantares.
Yeah, I mean, they play correct Counter-Strike. I mean, they're good at building up, building defaults, and utilizing that individual skill that you have, right? I mean, what that allows you to do is you don't have to kind of go for an execute right away. Instead, you can just roam around the map, try to find opening picks, and kind of build up from the ground up, right? So they just look like a solid team in general. To me,
I think a lot of it came around when Tugux ended up joining the team. Obviously, he has history playing with Mouse Sports and so on back in CSS, and even at the very start of CS:GO when they played with Zoom, which is mouse backwards, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah, cheeky,
clever.
But obviously, he brings something different that nobody really from Turkey had in terms of just experience and how to play at a pro level versus other pro teams, right? Because it's a very different thing from just being good in pickup games and so on than actually playing an organized team. Yeah. So ever since he joined, you could see just like a steady progression, as they've moved forward. And obviously, I think the big really kick in the butt in terms of them moving forward was when I think it was E1 got swapped out for Paz.
Yeah, I think it was like early this year.
Yeah, so then you just saw like a revelation, really, like a new player coming out of pretty much out of nowhere and just being really good, actually playing up to the level of Xantares.
Apparently he just played in like Turkish leagues and like they like
just
very
rolled
small.
up.
Yeah, and
it's just like one of the friends of the guys.
I love that. I've got that. I mean, you know how much I'm a sucker for the little guy getting big. I mean, I was just talking about the Doppler story. There's so many
Cinderella
names. I'm a sucker. Absolute sucker for them. And now let's meet some other suckers. It's none other than Alternate Attax. Let's bring them up on your screens and meet the German roster. The roster that have already caused many an upset in the CS scene, qualifying for E-League and taking a trip to Atlanta over Godsent, who are also present here at the Minor. Going to be intriguing to see if they can continue to throw some knockout punches to some big dogs within the scene. First being Space Soldiers that stands in their way. In terms of big names, gentlemen, Halvor and Yuna, I mean, do we start looking at the AWP player, Mr. Kiev? I think he's been widely regarded as one of the hardest hitters, Halvor, on this roster.
Yeah, I think he's actually by quite a big margin the standout player in that team. The others are more or less there to accommodate
just
for
the.
Well, yeah,
are
like
you serious?
Literally gray mass.
No, but I wouldn't go that far. But they're there to accommodate and just make sure that Keeves. Think of it like VIP mode, right? Like you had in 1.6. The four others are there to make sure Kiev gets into position. No, but like obviously
they're in this event. We're going to get beaten up if we keep talking like this.
Just watch him. If you play Dust 2, just watch him be behind the barrels on A side.
Yeah.
What? Just holding.
I got wrecked. I got the opportunity to play against this guy at the Premier Finals, and we lost a round. I think it was a 4-on-2 where he was behind those freaking barrels.
Bulletproof barrels.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't hit him.
CSGO things.
Yeah, I mean, I had the great pleasure of casting a great deal of Kiev because when I was doing the Meisterschaft, oh my lord, the amount of times it was just, and Kiev's got another 1v3, and Kiev's killed 5 people again, and it was just, I mean, there is a lot of mismatch within the Meisterschaft, but I mean, he definitely knows how to play the video game that is Counter-Strike.
And also their in-game leader, because KZY.
Yes. Also has Pest and Mouse.
Exactly. That was what I was going to say. And has a pretty strategic mind, you could say. I mean, they go for a lot of different executes. And they have a lot of, you can tell they have a lot of setups on the CT side too that they've definitely dry ran a lot of times. They have everything's coordinated. It seems like they have a lot of these kind of ideas. But this team used to be notoriously known for being online. Like super online until
that's so uncommon Germans.
What? Especially like Source, I think it was where everything.
It never happened.
Germany,
like
very online.
So bad online.
But they did just win ESWC. Obviously, ESWC is not what it used to be. It used to be a very, very much premier tournament. And now it was a tier 2 tournament. But still, just losing one map over, I think, 10, 11 maps is pretty good.
Hey, dude, ESWC had a sweet dance mat tournament, so you be careful what you're saying.
I mean, Guitar Hero as well.
Yeah, Guitar Hero. I remember watching Dunn commentate some, like, weird SingStar thing. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Anyway, moving away from that and into map discussion. Let's talk about how these maps could play out. I saw you guys were scrolling something down ahead of time, just trying to understand how exactly this would play out. I guess we start by asking what we definitely not going to see.
Well, it's going to be on their screen.
I reckon we're not going to see trade.
Wait, can you do this?
I could look really smart right now.
If I can start. I mean, Train and Mirage are pretty much go-to for Attax at this point for a best of one, and then Attax is just going to take out Dust 2. Even though it's a map they like to play, it's good for them, but they know it's something that Space Soldiers like to play.
Probably their best map actually.
Yeah.
So just overall, it really makes sense. Overpass as well as a veto for Space Soldiers makes sense. They don't really play it, and the fact that none of the teams really wanted to go out on Nuke, unlike what we saw at Epicenter, which apparently everybody wanted to play Nuke. That's not the case here.
Not?
Well, I mean, if that's the order, right? Surely that's Attax saying choose. Attax is demonstrating that they're willing to play Nuke.
Well, yeah, but
I think they just knew that they don't really play Nuke that much either.
Okay.
But neither does Space Soldiers, so they felt comfortable leaving it open.
Yeah, it's a chicken play, and if you're Space Soldiers, obviously, I think we've seen way too many times that teams think like, oh, but these guys don't play Nuke, so let's go to that map, even though we have no clue what we're doing. I think it's smart of Space Soldiers to actually just go with what they know, and they definitely know Cobble. It's statistically it's their second best map, if I'm not misremembering.
Yeah.
And if you're Attax, you're happy with that as well. That was kind of the outcome we were waiting for, or thinking of. I think if Space Soldiers had the last pick, it was going to be Cobble, and if Attax had the last pick, obviously Vito could have played out differently. I think we would have ended up on something like Cash.
Well, I mean, so you're expecting less preparation by these teams to have been done on Nuke, and more going to be a bit more of a standard map pool than Epicenter and Brazil.
I would assume so, especially because the stakes are so high here. Because we're talking about
True.
And we have a lot of teams with different kind of swaps going on. So I think Nuke is not on the high end of the priority list at that point.
I guess if anything, these two teams, because they haven't made that many roster changes, would potentially be one of the teams that have actually practiced Nuke a lot. But I don't think you start off the tournament when it's this much on the line and be like, yeah, guys, we're just going to try something out.
And if you did have an ace up the sleeve, you keep it for a best of 3 decider.
Exactly.
Exactly. You don't drop it in your first best of 1 either way, which of course Nuke probably will be for some of these teams. When, like you said, so much on the line, you want to be doing your homework on that new map and introduce to the 7 map.
Especially for these kind of teams where they're trying to rise towards that tier 1.
I keep seeing my mustache on it. I look so stupid. How am I pulling this off? Look
at this. There's no way I'm pulling. Like, this is just the women repeller. It's unreal.
Let me ask you, Mr. Woman Repeller, for your prediction. Let's start doing that because it does look like we're almost ready to jump into game.
On Cobble, from what I've seen from Space Soldiers, I've actually really liked it. I'm actually going to side with Space Soldiers going in here.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's going to be against the grain.
Going with Space
It's going to be a duel of the ops here, I feel like. It's going to be Kiev, it's going to be Despy, just throwing it out. I think I'm going to go
he's
with
looking at
Attax for this
would
one,
Alex
though.
choose?
I'm not going to... Yeah, okay.
Because I get to do predictions with this one.
Yeah.
This is the first time ever I've done predictions, and of course I have such a huge basis for this to go on. If I do the square root, carry 1. Let's not forget 2015. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm going to go with Space Soldiers.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe Space Soldiers entirely based on the fact that they were invited and Attax had to qualify.
Well, it makes sense. Well, we didn't see any hats, so you couldn't base this off of your normal analysis.
Yeah, that's true. I think I saw 1 hat at least in the coach.
Okay, well, there you go, right?
That's why
Strengthening
that's
your
where my decision came from. All right, so it does look like, Natty, you're alone on the alternate Attax pickup. Battle of the Orps seems to be the primary discussion, but we're waiting for Vendetta's name to pop up. Vendetta did say Space Soldiers, just to clarify. So it's 2-1 in favor of the Turkish side.
So we're already winning.
Technically, we're already winning, and I do believe we're almost ready to jump into game. Our casters are ready. I believe it's Blue and Risk who are going to be taking this one. And so it's a risk of me saying this, but I do believe we can head over to your casters now. It's Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
All right, thank you very much, Machine. It is me and Risk.
Hey, I forgot we were doing this. Excuse me. Hey, representing Astralis. Anders would be proud.
Gotta give him some hope.
Yeah, I've got. Wait, what are you wearing? Is just a deep V Risk, or have you got a team?
Very
just a very.
You do look like
plain
a Backstreet Boy.
I think maybe putting on the Astralis shirt would be a bit too much bias to the Danish team. So
guys, we talked about biased casters. Is Blue crossing a line here?
I mean,
it's a
gray zone because he's not from Denmark, right?
Yeah, exactly. He can pull it off. If I did it, then
I mean, I can't even wear a UKCS team. Easy skins.
I thought I saw the best tweet ever actually by Ben Woodward. who used to work for Fortress back in the day, he was saying that why is ESL UK risking it by having a best of 7 or something finals, because there's a strong likelihood that one of the teams are going to fall before that best of 7 it's going to be played. So
if I can't fold my UKCS shirt, the team can fold for it.
Exactly.
All right, boys, you have fun casting this one. We'll say goodbye, and I'll let you guys jump into your first cast.
Thank you very much. Well, going into this one, let's get your initial thoughts as we head into this matchup now between these two teams to start off the main broadcast here for the European Minor.
I'm really looking forward to seeing Space Soldiers because, as we know, on Cobblestone, this is one of the best maps. They have almost a 70% win rate on this map, so they can actually do some decent damage. I was ranking these teams, trying to rank them before this tournament, and I was like, probably ranking Alternate Attax a bit higher than Space Soldiers, but on Cobblestone, I actually think they have a legit chance. So I think, as Vendetta said, it could go all the way down to the wire. I think we're going to look at 16-13, 16-14.
Yeah, I mean, for Alternate Attax, this is by no means a bad map for them, too. Certainly not one of their more dominant ones. I think that Honor has to go over either to Cash or Dust 2. It's two of the more, statistically speaking, best maps for Alternate Attax. But this one's, I would say, probably third or fourth in the totem pole, too. They're sitting at like around a 12-7 record there in the past 3 months or so from HLTV. So still a good map for them, just a little bit more middle of the range. But they're no stranger to playing it with that many occurrences of it there. So as we can see, it does look like we're getting into the knife round now, but still plenty more to talk about here. And obviously, as many times we've seen in the past in the pro level, even as we go down here now to the lower level, like at the minors and whatnot, it always comes down to the T side to figure out how well these teams are really going to do on this map.
So let's see here, knife round incoming. So all good and dandy as we used to do back in the day, getting that knife round cast in. Usually tournaments skip this, but this is PGL. They want every part of the CS.
Do you actually want to go in with the full play-by-play?
Yeah, we can do the Rapcar thing. Just do the Sato.
We'll save that for a little bit later on today.
It's going to be a long day. We're going to get there. No worries.
At some point, I'm sure we'll slip it in.
The insanity will go in. But yeah, Space Soldiers, of course, probably going to win this one. Kiev in a 1v3, he has to hit 3 perfect knives in order to get this one, and he's just running away, just postponing the inevitable. That is going to be his death.
A lot of stats and whatnot to talk about here, so clearly just needing that couple of extra seconds there to figure it out. But we do see the conclusion come forth, and with that, obviously, we'll be able to see the side pick come out in just a moment, and then hopefully the game will begin.
Yeah. Very exciting for this one. Also because Alternate Attax had that tough route in the qualifier. They had a lot of drama going on with the demos and everything, but now they're here, and they're here to prove themselves. And they're here to prove themselves that qualifier thing was just not a mess. Like, they're not an online team. They can actually play an offline event. And I think this is going to be a really important event for them to show the world that they are a top-class team. And they're starting off against Space Soldiers, who have done very well recently, but we have to remember that Alternate Attax, once again, as I said on the desk, comes with a win at ESWC. Can they repeat that?
Yeah, absolutely. So some big strides coming out for them, and Kiev, with him being the big player there, I think the analyst was absolutely correct, and with it being the Battle of the Ops, we can't underscore some of the other players here too. Obviously, I mean, doesn't even need the introduction at all. Xantry is coming in here, very, very big name, of course, in the community. And in all honesty, I'm interested to see how Kazuya does here, because specifically, like, looking at it from online play, and I think he showed it back at last time I saw this team play specifically myself was over at the ESCA Premier Finals a couple months ago, and I think him combined with the season play that I saw before that, he actually looked pretty good too. So I'm a bit curious to see if he carried that performance over the past couple of months now here to the minor.
Yeah, definitely. And all of these guys on the Attax team have a bunch of experience playing in the German team for such a long time, and just very looking forward to see how, because these are some of the players that have been on the kind of lower tier, not lower tier as in the bad, but they haven't really been on the top teams in Germany, but they've been in the scene for such a long time. So they have such a big amount of experience, and we're going to see how that experience plays into this as we are going live with the pistol round here between Alternate Attax and Space Soldiers in the European Minor. First best of one. Let's get into it. Yeah,
and the other thing with Alternate Attax too is they've been together for quite a long time. I think easily like 6 to 8 months now, if I remember going back quite a bit there too. So this roster's been pretty long standing, and that's with the full 5, maybe 1 or 2 changes in there. But anyway, pistol round now getting started and opening up pretty typically for Space Soldiers here on the T side, moving all their players out to just set up for B. I don't believe the XT will come up, but there is some aggression from the C side, and that's going to spur it on from Paz. He moves out, picks up the first kill against Tizian, and with that, they found their way in.
And here we go. Bomb is going to go down. Pass with a double so far. Has picked up the USB from those CTs, and let's see if he can do some long-range damage with that. Just holding the angles. 2 gigs. Here along, picking up 1. Chris goes down, and now it's only 2 players remaining for alternate attacks, and it will be a perfect round for Space Soldiers just picking up that pistol in style.
Destroying it, no problems whatsoever. Alternate attacks. We saw that at the beginning of that. They tried to play it up a little bit more aggressively towards Broken Wall. It fails horribly, and with that, it really opens up the way. So normally you see a little bit more of a delay with that, but as soon as they know, all right, well, someone's very overextended over there towards Broken, they're able to punish that, and that just swings the site wide open for Space Soldiers to run right in and punish it.
So here we go. Of course, we do see the normal force-up. Keeve, of course, as the AWP player, only buying the P250. He wants to save some money so he can get that economy rolling, get that orb in. But the rest of the players, of course, buying the Deagles. We've been seeing this a lot in the last 6 months to a year. The Deagle really coming back into use here in CS. Personally loving it, but against the AKs, it's going to be hard. 2 men already down. Tizian, though, with that Deagle, as I mentioned, you can pull off these insane headshots, and it can make the difference in a round like this. And let's see Surson with a Deagle as well in hand, trying to get the kills down, but he's just not finding them. Tizian, though, once again, 2 kills so far this round.
He's found the impact, but down at 16 HP, so he's not really going to be too keen on being able to peek his head out into any more aggressive positions again where he's been able to find these. The good news is that if Keeve could, in theory, rotate in time, there would have been a potential to do some damage with Paz and Despy being so low, 31 and 50 HP, but it seems like he's falling back to save now since he's retrieved the rifle. Take an economic choice here, considering there's going to be the minimal investment going on in the 3rd round there, just basically the trash on for alternate attacks, so they won't be trying it here, and it will end up being the 2nd round for Space Soldiers.
Yeah, doing the safe choice for alternate attacks, saving these 2 weapons. We also have to remember that Tizian has that small armor, so he's perfectly fine to go into the next round as well with that Deagle small armor combo. So good economic choice for alternate attacks, of course. We'll go down 0-2 coming into the next round. 3 AK saved and some utility as well on the Space Soldier side. So a lot of money being brought into the next one.
We still have to see those rebuys forced in, however, so keeping the money down to a manageable spot. However, the ultimate problem being is that beyond the heroics that we saw from Tizian being able to now retrieve him with that Galil, we didn't really see a whole lot else from the alternate attack side on the force-up, so it might look a little bit rough here, and this is where Space Soldiers can really come in and crush things and try and establish some really good early footing with the T-set economy if they start having trouble with their executes on the gun rounds.
Yeah, and when talking about the economy, we do have Engine on that Mac 10, so he can rack up some money with that as well if he gets in the correct position. Tizian, of course, taking up the first one. That's a good start. That is what they need on the alternate side. They need to get that first pick and then rotate into more defensive positions. And here comes Centaurus. The hero is face off against Keeve, and Keeve gets the headshot down with the Deagle. No worries at all. And now this is a 5v3 scenario for the CTs. Of course, they're still lacking behind in weaponry, but they are just spraying them down. Tizian with the double, and now it's all on Tugux. 1v5, and this has turned around on its head. Alternate attacks back in the game. Tugux still trying to make it happen. 1-2. Quick coming in, but he's only on 24 HP, so this is going to be a tough one for him to clutch.
He does have things very well aligned, though. You can see he's being cautious with flank, but the guys from alternate attacks have not tried to go for that at all. They think they had the trap sprung here, and then it was perfectly aligned. Keep in mind, they have lost the rifle. Let's look if they've been able to retrieve it, but nicely played by the remainder of them, and they're going to be able to upset in this round. Perfectly worked out there with Keeve and Tizian, as Keeve basically takes all the attention away, takes all the aggro from Space Soldiers as they try to push out towards Broken Wall, and then Tizian just jumps out there and does maximum effectiveness with that Galil there, and is able to pretty much shut down the entire push. Once again, sending it all towards Broken Wall. Not a lot of drop effort coming in from Space Soldiers yet, so that could prove problematic if we don't see that change very quickly, and it's immediately thrown the T-set economy into the fray since they also lost quite a few players back in that 2nd round. They are going to have to just go for upgraded pistols on this one.
Love the choice from Keeve. He was thinking about buying the orb, had the money, but he, of course, knows the economy of this game, and he buys the UMP 45 instead. So good choice by him. Saving the money so he can get more orbs later in the game where it's going to be more impactful. Not against pistols and a UMP as the T's are right now. Despay, though, will get one as well. And, well, holding it down, Despay trying to go into drop, but will be forced into his death by Keeve with that UMP.
Space Soldiers are going to try to wrap this over here towards the A-bomb site. Attacks have not been not rotated in yet, and actually Space Soldiers are going right for this too. They're not delaying at all. So if they get that smoke connected and they are able to take out Crisby, then there is room for them to still be able to take control of the site and at least find a plant. Holding it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but as they move in, now the problem is they've slowed it down immensely, and this is where alternate attacks are going to be able to wrap back up Crisby with 2. Nice shot from Engine, but then Kazuya comes in to finish the job, and alternate attacks will tie the game up.
So here we go. What's going to happen here? We do have the force buy, or the buy just in general coming in from Space Soldiers. And the question is, are they going to drop that UMP over and get an AWP on Kyiv? That's not going to be the case. So they are going to run the UMP continually on Kyiv, which of course is fine. They do have that armor penetration on the UMP, so it's a fine choice against even bought up AKs. But 2 Gooks just on a Tech 9.
Still a little bit low for him to be able to bring that up. Not only this too, but a choice needed to be made here to bring some utility into the squad. However, look at the aggression coming out from Kazuya. That takes some balls that are jump right out over into a long entirely. Moving out there, he grabs the kill into Paz, and then he gets back. No damage at all. There was no one set up to cover. And look at that, he even moves in and grabs a second one against Engine now. Absolutely destroying things across the map here. And alternate attacks certainly have set up a great lead for themselves at the beginning of this round.
And as we do have the picture-in-picture, we do have Despe with the orb on the other side of the map, trying to find an opening, but they're just not, of course, peeking him. They know exactly what he's going to do, and they're just holding the angle, making sure that he can't push in, can't do anything aggressive, and just holding that angle, making sure that they have the map control, that it is in the control of Attax, that they decide what the terrorists do. And that's such a great part of playing CT on this map, that you decide where the terrorists go, and you decide, and you dictate the game. And especially when you're in a 5v3 scenario, it's going to be incredibly hard for Space Soldiers to do much unless they get like a magic opening, magic entry. And as I say that, Santaris gets that magic entry onto Chris, so now this is getting somewhere, but he is down to 27 HP.
And the other problem too with the bomb sending its way over here towards the B bomb site is they've read into this, and actually Space Soldiers are going to have a last second doubt about sending that bomb over towards B, so they change up the game plan. They're going to take this into A, and now the only player standing in their way is going to be Kyiv. However, Kyiv around the corner with the SMG. Ooh, baited out early. They know where he is, and there's no reason for Xantares to push when they have ramp pressure also coming in. They can box him out. The nade goes in, and again, nice enough from Xantares. He backs up. That buys the time for Tugux to work his way up the ramp and knock him down without losing any of their players. Now Searson jumping in. Actually, somehow was able to recover his aim and get that kill into Tugux, but the trade comes in from Xantares, and then Kazuya finding an additional one brings us into a 1v2. Only 2 seconds on the clock. There's nothing left for Despy to do. He's got to fall back into the alleyway and try to save this up.
Yeah, and I think it was really point on what you said, that they wanted to go for the B push, but then they switched up, and then they got caught in the fact that, well, they ran out of time, basically. So if they hadn't switched up, then went for that B push, of course, it was the correct choice, with only one CT being on the opposite side. But then again, you always have to think about that clock, and yeah, it's so heartbreaking to see a team just run out of time when still having a chance to win that round.
It's overall good judgment, but like mentioned previously, they had to play it out carefully against Kyiv so as not to get destroyed by that SMG, and that wasted a lot of the time and then made things even more difficult once alternate attacks weren't able to catch on to that as quickly as they did, and obviously have the good rotate, which has been one of their benefits so far in this one. Of course, only a few rounds into it, but Space Soldiers once again undo a bit of an awkward buy since Despy saved. He's got the one op, but that's pretty much all they have. Xantares gets a Tech 9 armor buy. Really, the only thing of note beyond that is Tugux's Deagle there. But as we can see, Searson jumping up there, trying to see if we can spot up the smoke, and he's going to get at least one. A second one also found by Tizian elsewhere, knocking out Xantares. Things are going by pretty quickly as Tizian goes back into drop. 2 more kills. Despy's patience over here, leading up to the broken wall, at least pays off, but now he's been very quickly surrounded, and Tizian's going to grab that final kill. Nice little 4K from him as they go up 4-2 here.
Yeah, Tizian's been playing really well so far, 9-3. Score-wise, he did have that deagle action in the beginning of the game as well, and just really getting into it with the 4 kills in this round also. So alternate attacks now on 4-2 on this CT side here, and we're going to see the almost full buy coming in from Space Soldiers. Despe, of course, not on an AWP. He will be on that UMP 45. Kyiv on an AWP, though. Really looking forward to see what he can do against this fully bought Space Soldiers team.
We'll see them again initially working their way into the B halls. No variance with that. Alternate attacks are playing it very straightforward, however, with the A push, I should say. But the problem is with the pace they're taking this one, Searson's going to need to have a big hold, and he already has. Knocked out both Engine and Paz, and so much damage done to the remaining 3. Tugux down to 10 HP, Despy and Xantares at like somewhere between 60 and 50 HP, so it's not looking good. At least Xantares finds that 1 kill, but it's into a 2v4, and Tizian just going to move right in on the flank here and shut things down. Space Soldiers try to match that out with aggression, but it does not work out at all.
Not working out at all, and even the flank coming in the end just to make sure that you have the round locked in 100%. That opening double coming in as well, just not much to do really. Alternate attacks playing it perfectly on the B side, so now Space Soldiers have to think about, okay, not really working out for us going into that B side. We tried that a couple of times, have to try out something else. Maybe they're going to go for split A, go through that mid. Could be an opening for them, but let's see. They're going to, of course, right now do the Tech 9, so look for something a bit more quick, a bit more execute heavy, and let's see what they're going to do in the next buy round. Kyiv here, posting aggressively in the middle, and he might get caught off guard here. 12 HP will go down to Despe, so that quickness really works out for them. He gets that first kill, and second guy also very close, Crisby, but there goes down the Molotov. But they do have that ult.
Crisby trying to be very, very careful with the way he plays his own positioning there. Just lost his teammate for being caught out of spot, and ooh, Paz almost being caught too as he jumps back across there, trying to get himself into a safer position. Alternate Attacks have been alerted, of course, to the hit here, so they've started to rotate in. They have a constant 2 sitting in the A site, 1 sitting at the ready, closer towards drop, in the event that we see the full commitment come in from Space Soldiers, and obviously Searson holding the aggressive position in the cubby up on platform if there is a sudden switch. And this ends up turning itself into a B hit, and they don't catch on to it. Crisby, though, even moving down into the mid-connector. They're trying to spot some of this one. Looking for players in the default spots, but not finding anyone there. Space Soldiers are doing a great job of concealing themselves. It's really beyond those 1 or 2 guys that were spotted pushing long A. Nothing else has been revealed yet.
See 2 seats on that bomb side. Crisby's the first one. He's going to find the frag onto Santara. Still holding down that middle, so no worries. But 2 players now coming in through that long. Despe with the AWP. Can he land the frag on Kazooie? He will do that. He goes down, and Despe, that picked up orb is going to make a huge difference in this one because it's a 4v2 with low HP on the Space Soldiers players, and Tizian is in the perfect position here.
Tugix might have heard him a moment ago, though, but they've got this double teamed, and there you go. Searson's going to dive in just the right time to save his teammate's life and knock out Tugix. Paz and Engine down at a combined HP of 12 here, and obviously Paz is not going to last very long. Once he peeks out into the open, Tizian will grab that kill, and oh no, Engine loses his life, but oh, Despe, the good shot, again, won't last very long. Alternate Attacks always on point with the trades, and once again, we'll be able to shut this one down before it gets too far out of hand. They now have a very solid lead, 6-2 setup here. Money's looking great for them. They've got 3 to 4 players easily in enough positions to rebuy here. Searson's the only one that's really kind of below that, but with like 9,300 sitting on key, they can easily make up for that. Another buy round coming in from Space Soldiers, but that doesn't mean much, as we haven't seen the gun rounds have much effect as of yet here for this T side.
No, but I have to say, Alternate Attacks really playing well. As you said, that double team duo, they had 1 guy in lower and then 1 guy in the upper, helping out each other, and that really makes a difference here, because if you can work in these 2-man units, just constantly play as a team, that's going to make a big difference, because, of course, talented players are both teams, but very close to each other in individual level, but that team damage, that team play is going to make the difference. Keeve right now, peeking with the orb, missing that shot. Could have been a great opening for his team, but not this time around.
Keeve again playing into that aggressive position, but Space Soldiers all of a sudden slowing it down and going back to a more default style. However, Keeve, again, the sudden aggression from him, catches Despe as he pushes out from behind the box cubby over there at the end of the hallway. And will allow Keeve to grab the first kill of the round here. And it'll be up to the rest to make it up. However, take a look at Kazuya, who's driven a huge wedge in between these guys over here, and he is going to be waiting for that push to come in from suicide steps, catches a player, even almost gets some of those fadeaway shots there through the door. A little bit early on that, but again, retreating without taking too much damage, and it's once again looking great for the alternate attack side to just hold full control of this one. And look, even more aggression coming in from Crisby now along the backside. They've isolated the long pressure. They cannot go back up suicide without risking losing Engine or anyone else that would push up here. Good shots from Engine, but now he's got to watch his backside here. The adjustment almost comes in, but there's going to be Crisby finding the kill, and Searson, a dirty tap, moves in there, destroys Antares. It's just up to Tugix now. He's already down to 10 HP, and he's going to fall very quickly to Searson.
Yeah, really like what Alternate Attacks are doing. They're playing very intelligent CS, always, as you mentioned, coming in with the flank, always making sure that you have a plan B. If you lose that opening duel, you have a guy flanking behind. That opening in middle as well, very intelligent play. Just going for that first one and going for the fadeaway shot because he knows there's going to be a second guy in there. And we do have the pause coming in. Of course, a tactical one, if I'm not mistaken, coming in from Space Soldiers, wanting to make sure that they have everything secured and they know exactly what they're doing in this next run.
These are going to be, if I remember correctly, though, this is going by the new pause rules. These should be rather short pauses, only about 30 seconds or so. So we'll get back into the action pretty quickly, and then this will be the first of 4 that these teams can use here. Space Soldiers certainly needing it, though, as they've been trying a multitude of different strategies, and that often is the problem for these T-sides, is that they just, you know, especially like North American teams and one, is they have like one strat, which is just hit the B-bomb site over and over again, and they fail to innovate beyond that, but that's certainly not the case here. Space Soldiers have been trying plenty of things, it's just everything is failing due to alternate attacks almost always getting the initial read on it.
So here we go. The buy's going to come in, and it's going to be, well, a scrappy buy coming in for the Space Soldiers. Engine only on Tech 9 and utility. Some of the guys on AKs and full armor are missing utility, so this is not going to be the perfect setup. Boost in drop as well. We see Tizian here getting into a great position. Molotov, of course, preventing him, but he's going to push to the Molotov. He doesn't care. He's just going to go for the frag, and Santaris locks him down. That was maybe a bit too aggressive, but Keeve, nonetheless, brings it back, trades it back with a frag. Can he do the close range? Yes, he can. And another one coming in from Kiev, the star player. Sersen with one as well, and this is just looking like an open and shut case right now.
The fact that Kiev can stay alive for that long too and grab the second kill, and I think it was Paz. That's insane. The communication just didn't seem like it was there at all for Space Soldiers. Paz is sitting behind that smoke. He loses a teammate, but Paz doesn't try to push into it at all when he's still having to go over the reload, and he's very overexposed too. That was a very aggressive angle Kiev had to take to find that first kill. He was out in the open. In theory, that should have been a open and shut kind of trade there, but it doesn't end up working, and now Kiev sitting over here behind the statue is just going to rack up 2 more. Kiev, an incredible round from him. Aggression and then perfect positioning for those final 2. Absolutely destroy Space Soldiers.
And to think that they could have taken him out after the first frag with an easy revenge frag, just the usual style when you push someone to 2 players, if first one dies, go for the revenge frag and then just shut him down. But they didn't, as you said. The communication probably wasn't there, and they end up losing potentially the entire round to Kiev and his AWP.
Yeah, one of those weird rounds where, in theory, it seems like something that should have been straightforward, but obviously we're not the pros.
That's
so.
yes.
Well, we'll see Space Soldiers yet again try to send a lot of their efforts here on the eco round over towards the A side. Kiev actually just missing an opportunity to pick up a kill. However, the rest are out into the open. Some adjustment there from Despine. He does pick up the initial kill on a Kazuya. Now Tuguk's pushing up too. He's found a second one. It's a bit greedy there and going for the op, but now they have this player sitting over here isolated. That is going to be Crisby. First op shot does miss, but now it'll allow him to wrap back out and find the kill. Crisby and Searson picking up something. Tizian actually moves in and box it back, so we're even now. Down to a 2v2 after Space Soldiers initially picked up the first 2 kills and went 5-on-3. Now for Space Soldiers, they've got control of the alleyway, but they do not have a clear path up to the site. This is going to be the problem for them, as now we see Tizian peeking back out, trying to find Engine. They can't shut him down yet, but Engine actually catches Tizian just as he's peeking out there. I thought he was going to cancel the spray, and Searson with a dip kill. Moves in there, finds Engine, falls away, and with Tugix at 13 HP, this is going to be tough for him to clutch.
And Sersen does have a Molotov and a grenade as well, so that could potentially pretty much end this round if Tugix goes for the planned. Sersen hears him, he's just going to chuck a grenade in there, that's going to be the round. But let's see here. Sersen has rotated all the way towards the B-bomb side. Tugix on the other side, sneaking his way in, trying to go for the surprise, trying to find that CT before he goes for the bomb plant.
With a wide flank like this, it will allow, obviously, Tugix to get up onto the bomb site and find the plant. But the problem is, too, is if Tugix figures out what exactly is happening here, he'll have a lot of position to play with to be able to get up and immediately shut down Searson once he moves in. He's checking for the doors now as he sort of creeps into the site there, but Searson's about to explode out A-long. However, I think the op is ready for it. It's looking directly towards it. Searson trying to bait out the shot. He knows it's there, but he ends up walking right into it. And Tugux, with a nice play there, finally puts another round on the board for Space Soldiers.
Yeah, and so far we've had 11 rounds, and Space Soldiers only got 3 of those. And what I'm really missing from them is the aggression that they show on the Tech 9 rounds. Go for the aggressive peaks, but doing that with the AKs as well. Because usually alternate attacks will just go for an aggressive peak and get something done and then just shut the map down afterwards. So Space Soldiers, in my opinion, a bit more speed and a bit more confidence, and they'll be fine because they are some top level players. Santaris can open any site if he's on that A level. So let's see, Kazuya down in middle. Once again, just holding this angle, looking for that first frag. When he gets that first frag, immediately rotate back to a way more defensive position. And let's see if he can repeat that.
Pat's going to creep in across here, just trying to see if he can find anything in the mid-connector, since alternate attacks have been no strangers to playing it aggressively. Time's gone down a bit, so they'll be able to throw out the Molotov here just to hold back Space Soldiers if they were trying to move in there. See, creeping by, ooh, almost meets his end there, tagged a bit. This is about a quarter of his HP, but not anything he can scrub off and still hold a good position to play out the rest of the round with. Space Soldiers, though, the rest of them are lined up to try and push their way closer to the B-bomb site. With the bomb included, it hasn't committed itself yet. But Despi's moved in here. He's ready to move outside at a moment's notice over towards the platform and waiting for his 2 other teammates to group up with that. They will move for drop control too. This is another area that proves that we haven't really seen them aggressing a whole lot. It's only really been like 2 or 3 rounds in the entire half where they've tried to make an active play towards drop. With it being such an important area of the map, that could lead to problems. But they've also been having issues controlling it. That's a good start though. Xantori's moving in, grabs Tizian, and now they've got a bit of a way into the B-bomb site.
This is a good start for them. Kazuya coming in from behind though. Look at this flank. 1-2. Surely coming in here for him. He will get both of them. And at the same time, the terrorists are pushing out along. But there's still Kiev on this bomb site. And we have seen how he can hold down this fountain area with the AWP. Starts up with the first one. Goes for the second. Molotov at Chicken Coop will not really do much. There's no one there. Tuguk's last man standing. And Kiev just shutting it down once again from the fountain with the AWP. He is just golden.
another round 2 where a flank ends up costing them so much. It happened 4 or 5 rounds ago when they had a player push up towards suicide there and ended up holding a position at the edge of long A, and then it allowed for them to flank out like 1 or 2 additional guys. And then it happens there too, as someone pushes in through the window, the smoke there in the window and drop room, and just knocks out 2 players after they find the initial entry. They lose their opening advantage, and from that before it all falls apart. They can't shut down Key because they don't have the other angle to work with. He's allowed to just hide over there behind the statue, and everything just falls apart. Since Space Soldiers, just in terms of like getting out towards platform or broken wall, they've had literally like 0 success there the entire half.
And yeah, wondering what's going on right now. We did have a restart, so perhaps some trouble going on. And yeah, there we go. The E-bot reset. So now we're back.
Just E-bot things.
Back in business. And yeah, of course, this will be, as we saw, an eco coming in from Space Soldiers. Despe probably going to go for some Tech 9 and some small armor as well. And just see what they can do. If they can get the bomb down, then it's going to be mission accomplished. That's what they really want out of this round. If they can get even more, then that's fine as well. But don't expect too much. We do see a couple of Deagles coming in instead of that Tech 9 armor. And let's see if they can use that to an aggressive advantage, getting those opening picks.
Can't really call these, get the plant and your missions accomplished. You can't really call those around successes anymore when it's going on like this, since they're so far behind. Any other additional rounds of attacks you're able to pick up here it's going to prove very, very dangerous going into the second half if alternate attacks. I mean, even at this point, even if they just pick up the pistol there, because that's a lot of a lead to work back from, and a lot of that's going to have to come from gun rounds, which is where Space Soldiers have looked very, very weak so far. And this eco round's looking no different. Crisby and Kazuya already racking up 3 kills. Some good damage done to Kazuya, but now Tizian chimes back in there, saves his teammate's life, doesn't even need to peek back out from long A, and it's down to Tuguk with a P250. He'll try to push his way out towards long A, but Crisby is waiting. Actually catches him off guard a little bit there. There's 1 kill at the very least, but let's see if he can find any more. This is going to be the tough part.
Yeah. Try to get a positive vibe going for Space Soldiers, but it's just not working out for them. The only thing that's working out is Tugish right now. He's trying to save this match all on his own, but it's not looking good. He's caught in between a rock and a hard place, and there's just CTs holding every angle. He can't get out, and as you said, well, money's nice, but when you're behind 3-10, you just need the rounds.
Yeah, and like 2-3 kills isn't going to matter much either at this point with the money that alternate attacks have built up just off the spree they won. I think it might have gone down a little bit since we've seen Space Soldiers rack up a round or 2 or have a couple close shaves, but still, the CTs can easily eat through that with only 2 rounds left here now, as we can see on the left side there.
And once again, we do see the buy-up coming in from Space Soldiers, but once again, it is a scrappy one. We do see 3 small armors, utility lacking on some of the players and towers, not even with a single grenade. So this is definitely not the setup that Space Soldiers wanted, but it is the setup that they're going to have to take because, as you said, they need the rounds now. They need to get something going for them. And Despe with the orb potentially could be it. Kazuya once again here. Down the middle, playing this. He's been playing it perfectly so far, in my opinion. Not too much to say about that, just textbook play from him.
Has had himself a bit of an encounter there, though, as he's already been brought down to 70 HP, but the rest of the Space Soldiers yet to make any progress yet, so he's still doing his job of holding them back for that initial 30 seconds or so to prevent them from getting an early staging area to then explode out onto the A-bomb site. However, they're expecting, if this goes through, if this ends up being an A-hit, I mean, alternate attacks, they're already here. They're ready to defend this. They've already got 3 fully committed to the bomb site, which is a very, very rare sight for any team on the CT side here. Keeve's already here, along with Kazuya and Crisby. And these have been the 3 staple A defenders here. You've even started to see a bit of a shift in Tizian too. He's currently watching drop, but that's a very quick rotate for him if he wants to go over to the bomb site.
But the rotation might be coming in here from Space Soldiers, establishing an early dominant and an early appearance on that A-bomb site, or towards that A-bomb site, now rotating in towards the B-bomb site. And which is the correct call, as you mentioned. 3 CT players on that A-bomb site, and now they can hit the opposite one. It's going to be up to Tizian and Surson. In great positions to hold this one, but drop will easily be taken, and then the side is open. Centaurus does the opener. Tizian in a very, very hot position right now. Centaurus trying to come in, and they will gain access to the side. Now it's a rotation coming in from alternate attacks. Can they hold this one? No! Engine with another one, and this looks like it could be the round where Space Soldiers get it down, and they will do that. 10-4. Finally back on the scoreboard here. are Space Soldiers.
So an unlikely misread from alternate attacks there. They bite hard on that A hit, sending all three their players over there, and Space Soldiers keep it really quiet until they don't really use a whole lot of utility at all to get into that B-bomb, so they just go for a raw entry, and that's working out great. They find those first 2 kills, and they only lose like 1 or 2 players along the way there, so managing to get their way in, and then the rotations obviously are going to come in way too late. Alternate attacks try to work it out. He finds himself sort of in the open there, outside of the doors behind the rock position. He's got no teammate support at all. He goes down, and then the rest just fall like dominoes, essentially. So there's going to be a 4th one for Space Soldiers, finding their way back a little bit. If they can make this an 11, or if they can make this a 10-5 half, there's still a pretty good chance for them to bounce back on the second half if they can start off well with the first couple rounds there.
Yeah, definitely. Everything's possible still, but alternate attacks, of course, looking to add round number 11 to their treasury and continue to ball that maybe with a pistol round, and then it's going to be pretty much game over. But Space Soldiers, of course, a team that's played together for such a long time, and they are never just giving up. That is basically how they started out. They started out by going to, I remember Copenhagen games back in the day, and they just got bombed out of every tournament, but they never gave up. They never stopped improving, and that's why they're here today, because they never give up, and they always believe in that chance, and that'll be monumental for them in this one. Despay just waiting for someone to peek in, but no one's going to.
There hasn't been any aggression towards the A site on this round, however, so no real reason for these players on alternate attacks to stay in that A-bomb site. In fact, they're betting heavily on a B hit now, as we can see the pressure start to work its way in towards Drow. Xantares has already started this. There's 35 seconds that they need to initiate this right now, which they are going to do, and as they move in, Xantares wins the first battle with Tizian. That opens up the wayside from Drop, drawing more of the attention from the CTs. Despy finding another one against Crisby, too. They've got their way into the bomb site, and it's looking good for them to be able to pick up an additional round here. Searson falls. Keeve, holding behind the rock spot there, finds at least the trade onto Xantares, as Kazuya also finds an additional kill inside of the drop room too, but he's not going to last for much longer. Paz takes him down. It's just on Keeve. A great flick. 8 seconds left as well to get that bomb onto the ground, but they've got that last man isolated. Despy's going to grab the final kill, and it will end 10-5. Still in the favor of alternate attacks, but Space Soldiers at the very least finding some footing at the end of the half there.
Yeah, definitely. Compared to how they started the half, the last 2-3 rounds was actually looking really good for Space Soldiers. Now they can bring that momentum into the pistol round. If they can get the pistol round, get the first buy round, we're looking at a tight game here. But let's see here, we still have that pistol to go. Of course, the manager, the coach of Space Soldiers, his name is Hardstyle, of course, always watching for these guys, always trying to help them improve and give them the best tips that he can in those posters, as we discussed. The new rules coming in, can't really talk to the team right now, but when the posters come in, he can give his feedback and tell them what to do.
It's got a sick nickname though.
Yeah, sick nickname.
Hardstyle?
Hardstyle.
I want to be named after a music genre.
That would just, yeah. Just like the Korean players in StarCraft, just having just weird names, just no, like, hi, I'm called Paper.
Life.
It's just ridiculous.
Nesty, I think was my favorite one.
That is the best, probably the best esports name of all time.
Did you ever see like people would whenever like people would actually go on like the iced tea like Nesty?
Yeah,
they would go
yeah.
on like their Facebook account and it was post like troll comments all the time about him whenever he won a tournament and stuff.
That was the best. Just seeing people bringing actual Nesties to events, just woo in the crowd, just waving them around. Good times in StarCraft 2.
Yeah.
Ribbon pieces. Ribbon pieces.
Dead now, of course.
Yeah, dead now.
Well,
Of
looks
course.
like we're going back into the second half now, guys. Space Soldiers will be jumping onto the CT side and alternate attacks over to the T side. Let's take a look and see if the guys from Turkey can bounce back or if alternate attacks will start off strong again and be able to hold control of this map after wavering a little bit there at the end of their CT half.
So pretty much standard setup from alternate attacks. 4 guys with full little armor, and then Crispy with 2 flashbangs and a smoke. So really looking forward to see what these grenades are going to be used for Crispy, and if they can combine that with an entry for maybe Keeve or Kazuya, and then go and take a bomb site. That could be a pretty potent mix. Of course, on the other side, we do have the CZ-75 to notice from Engine. Close range, that pistol is deadly. So if you can put that to use as well, it's going to be an interesting one. Looks like they're going to move their way slowly over long A, just set up camp, see if they can find something. And there goes the first flashbang. Still 1 to go. And the smoke pops down as well, and Despay with a click just takes out Keeve. And now he can hold this bomb site. Engine, as I said, with the close range CZ-75 gets another frag, and Despay still on the bomb site. He's going to deny that bomb planter anything. And Tizian now in a 1v5 does pick up the first one, but not anything more. Despay with a triple USPS headshot.
Very, very clean on some of those shots there, too. The initial kill was beautiful. And then from that point forward, obviously the guys from Attax don't get anywhere. Now, Space Soldiers have really good positioning in that pistol. I think it's a large part of the reason as to why they close that out so easily. That they have all their guys split across the map. They already have a really good force ready on that. And in comparison to the normal, like 3-1-1 split that you do, where you have the one guy in the site, maybe the one guy pushed out towards the long. They're already in the site, and they're kind of ready for that one, too. And Attax, they don't really use any utility because they want to try to keep it quiet, hoping that the stack is weighted a little bit more heavily towards B. Doesn't work out at all, though. And they essentially just get countered out by Space Soldiers there. So nicely played, and some good shots as well there in the pistol.
Definitely. So now we do see the full Deagle. This could pretty much be taking me back to source when we did the Deagle ecos at all times, if you could. And now it's 5 years later, and it's still a thing.
For once in a while you see it there, and oof, unfortunately, not going to start off the greatest. As Tugux sits and drop here with the shotgun, going to try to stack up some cash. Perfectly capable position for it. Despy also finding some additional money income there with the SMG. Back over here by Broken, the one player that tried to lurk his way into A. Well, that doesn't go so well as Searson shut down. There we go. There's at least one pickup coming in from the Deagles. Tizian is the player to find it, shutting out Paz. Finding anything else beyond that, there was going to be a bit difficult, and they've left the bomb way back in the B halls currently. So if they wanted to attempt to rush the site here, it wouldn't really work out so well.
No, Tizian has been pretty much on point with the Deagle so far this game, but he needs a bit more than just being on point in a 2v4 with no HP, basically. Kazuya needs to pick up this frag, and it's just not working out. 16 HP in a Dream, and the Dream will die. And Space Soldiers find themselves in 7 rounds now. It's not too bad.
Picking up things early on here and not getting upset, more importantly, in the second round has made this game a lot closer all of a sudden here. Yes. Realistically now, Ultimate Attacks are just going to be going on to their trash round here. So this should allow Space Soldiers to easily pick up the 8th, and once we get into the gun rounds, that's where it'll truly be decided if we'll have ourselves a little bit more of an interesting match here, as Ultimate Attacks could start shutting things down from there, but it's yet to be seen, of course, as, again, the Deagles actually rolling once more, so they're still going to go for this this lighter investment here. So they can afford that a little bit without going fully into that one. However, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to do much. Despy already moving himself out, finds a first kill, can't grab that second guy out there, smokes in the way, but Paz finding an additional pickup there as a player tries to push his way out towards Broken. Despy is still in a bit of a tricky spot if he gets pushed here. That SMG, in theory, could shuttle these guys down if they push in sequence.
Just get the first one. No, the second one, Searson comes in with the Deagle and gets that frag, but Santara's in perfect position. He's going to hold down this mid area. They're going to rotate 2 players, and he's going to rotate off to long, so they got everything locked down on this A bomb site. He even does a little cheeky pre-fire and gets the bomb down as well, so now they have all the information in the world. 4v1, and Searson does get his second, though. Can he get a third? Summoning the spirits of Juan Dieg.
I think Tugux has spotted the bomb, but not Searson, so he will try to line up an additional kill. Won't work out, but now he's got an SMG to play with, and well, that's at long range, but oh no, he's blinded himself! And that's where Tugux is going to move in with the shotty to finish the job.
So a good amount of money on Tugux here. He does save that M4, but he did get kills with the Max 7. Also saved incendiary grenade, so money's looking great for Space Soldiers right now, only 2 rounds behind. If they can get this buy as well, it's looking incredibly healthy for them going into the last 10 rounds of this game.
So let's take a look now that we get into the interesting part of this half here. Alternate Attacks, not going to risk it and going for the op here. Money's still a little bit low to be able to scrap that up at this point, so just AKs. Bit of a different tale, however, back on the Space Soldier side, Despy will have enough cash to be able to pick that one up, so we'll see that investment coming in. Now let's take a look at where exactly the hit's going to move towards. Alternate Attack still just playing into the default, however, spread across the map. No decisions made yet, but currently the player's leaning very heavily on A.
Yeah, definitely. 4 out of the 5 players are towards this A bomb site. Bomb is dropped in the middle between them, so they can do the rotate, go towards B again, but yeah, as you said, just heavily stacked. Santara is trying to hold the aggressive angle, might be caught off guard. See here, and he will be caught off guard. Taken out by Tizian with that beautiful headshot, and now Despy is technically all alone for 2 seconds, but he will be helped out by his teammates. But the terrorists have not pushed in yet, and already it's going to be a 2-2 split. So whichever side they hit right now, actually B might even be a bit of a better idea because you can open that up a bit more. So that will be the destination for alternate attacks. So they will be switching around, of course. Thinking about, okay, they're going to be 4 players remaining. They're probably going to stack it 2-2. So we can open it up. Of course, 3 players against 2 on the bomb side is very manageable for the T's. And Flash goes down drop. They can take drop control. No worries. Kazuya trying to get that peek onto long. Trying to open up and work together. Crisby with another one. Tizian with one as well. And Space Soldiers just getting outplayed here right now.
Well, now they get the pinch going over here onto the A-bomb site too, so everything falls to Paz. He's going to be able to hold at least one, but immediately traded off by Kiev, and now the site's wide open. Engine will figure out what's going on, but if he can actually do anything is yet to be seen. And, you know, without any utility here, completely out of position too, he's still sitting on platform when the last kill was gained on the A site. More than likely, as we can see now, he's going to fall back to save, and that will be the closing moments of that round there. Alternate Attacks will pick up at 11th. As another team celebrates way over down the hallway there.
Yeah, I could hear that.
Not sure if you can hear that, guys at home, but
you can analyze what language that was, and then you can analyze on who won. Just then you know. But yeah, really like that round from Alternate Attacks. Pretty much textbook T side here on Cobblestone. Just wait out, make sure you got everything under control, and then figure out, get that opening, and then make the good call. Okay, where are we going to go? Hit that side together. Taking drop control, of course. Very, very important, and if they can do it, hit drop with 3 guys when there's only 2 on that B-bomb side, that just works out perfectly. And then just, of course, every duel pretty much going their way. And if every duel goes your way, winning a round is not that hard.
Yep. So, Alternate Attacks. They've picked up that gun round now, and as we can see from Space Soldier said, it doesn't look like the money was sitting in too good of a spot. That moment, though, where they, as we just saw there in the replay, the moment where they do manage to dive in and get that drop control is certainly the key point in that round, as that allows them to push into the A-bomb site, destroys most of the defense, and it drives a wedge between any of the remaining players left alive, too. It's such a good play, and it's one of the very important reasons why you need to keep a constant eye on drop and not let it, not let control of it be taken so easily there. It's one of the risks of playing it more passively.
And now, as we talk about drop, we do have 2 gooks once again with the Max 7 in drop. Very, very viable solution. You can, if you have one man posted at drop at all times and you give him a Max 7, he's going to be able to hold that and at least get 1 frag every time someone pushes into that position. So, good decision, especially when you're a bit strapped for cash, as Space Soldiers must be right now. Of course, missing some utility in some of the players. Alternate Attack setting up. Look at that very, very defensive setup in mid, though, by Kiev and Surson, as we see on the other part of the map. Very, very defensive, while the rest of the Alternate Attacks are heading towards B.
We can see here that they're, again, taking their time with it too. Still a minute left on that clock, but not shaping up in position to go for an execute anytime soon here. Still looking to see what is kind of lurking here, and if Space Soldiers are going to try to do anything aggressive, whether that'll be jumping on top of the box and looking for shots into the backside there, trying to push a guy through the smoke, hiding a player into the cubby, looking for anything they can abuse here. But not going to be spotting it due to Space Soldiers for the most part, playing it textbook here on the B-bomb site. Nothing straying from the ordinary currently.
2 gooks here, trying to hold close range with the Max 7. Bob now rotating towards long. 3 T players trying to take over long now, and the remaining parts of the team are rotating, just making sure that no one is lurking from behind. Here comes the position, trying to open it up. 1 guy tree will fall down. Crisby takes that frag. Paz answers back immediately, though, with another one of his. But Paz down to 19 HP. Bomb is being planted right now by Kasuya. The CTs have to go in and decide what they want to do. Just waiting right now for the full retake. Attax picks up 1. Kasuya goes down, and it's a 4v3 retake scenario. CTs, they have a shot here. Crispy incredibly low on HP, and Centaurus just trying to find the kills. But look at that, Surson coming in from behind, just getting the frag straight in the back onto 2 gooks, and now Kiev here in what could be his favorite position with the orb. Gets down another one. Can he make this? Let's see here. 3rd frag incoming for Kiev. Goes for the no-scope, not going to end it, but it doesn't matter. He picks it up with the pistol. Time runs out. The bomb will explode as well. And Alternate Attacks, just no worries. Picking up that 12th round. That was a beauty from them.
The desk was talking about it, and we've seen it here in at least 2 or 3 rounds with Kiev just going absolutely ham, holding a single position, being able to use it so creatively to pick up multiple kills there. And he just absolutely destroys Space Soldiers. I mean, I forget who the second player was. It was still alive at the end of that one, but just, I mean, he's obviously not going to be able to help out much at 4 HP. That entire time in the post point, that's basically him versus the world right there. And he does a phenomenal job of holding that off. Also, the position the Space Soldiers in just looked really bad in that post point there. Really, really inconsistent in the way that they actually held ground, and they were constantly threat of being flanked. Like that one player that gets himself over towards Chinku, despite the fact that he's brought low, there's still a threat there. And they have to constantly keep eyes on that. That's the reason that they eventually get flanked with their first drop, because they're so worried about the Chinku player, they don't even see that. Good flashbang initially, though, as we get into the next round. Allows Engine to find the first kill against Searson. Good shot from Xantries with the Deagle, too. It's been traded, but oh my god, Xantries finding another one against Crisby. They've all of a sudden brought this into a 4v2. No gun scavenge yet, and now Kiev comes back into play here. He's picked up 1. That is going to be Paz getting knocked out. Still a lot of work to do, and the bomb's gone down, so they are committed here. But they are holding back a little bit, and there's Keeve. Connects another shot. No full kill, but brings it into 7 HP. A quick switch to the pistol will do the job. He hunts for more. He spotted one guy peeking back out, tries to go for the flick. He dodges it, and Despy all of a sudden has knocked out his teammate. It's come down to Keeve. He's got a minute to play with. No reason to rush things, and plenty of utility to work with, too. Being careful, though, as he creeps in there. That is Despy. That's snuck below the wall. He's not down at 13 HP. This one's going to be a little bit too much to ask for. Despy finishes things off, and Space Soldiers, they're not done fighting yet, as they bring it up to 9-12.
That was a beautiful round for Space Soldiers, going in with minimal investment and still getting it down. And of course, Keeve, we expect him to do the crazy part, but in a round like that, it's just too hard. But look at that from Centaurus. Double deagle action. No worries from him. And now we do see alternate attacks on this force. Only one guy with the ideal setup, and that's going to be Keeve. And he's not even on an ideal setup as he's on an AK. The rest of the team on Tech 9s, 1 kill as well. And looks like it's going to be a fast B hit here.
They are lining up for it very quickly, of course, but at the same time, Space Soldiers are ready to hold it here, too. And keep in mind the downgraded really arsenal these guys from alternate attacks are going to be working with, but they almost just netted their first kill there. Thankfully, Engine's ready to go with the op, but he gets surrounded very quickly. That support system on the site itself there allows Searson to find that kill, and that could be the op going into the hands of... Oh, no! That's not good. We'll get back into the game very quickly as the post plant comes in. It looks like the guys from alternate attacks have held good control, and the rest of Space Soldiers actually going to have trouble even getting outside of that doorway there, but here comes the smokes. One for the T's there allows some progress made by the CT's, but Keeve pushing his way in, finds Despy. Quick trade from Xantares, knocks out Keeve. But look at Xantares now seeking around here. Tizian, he's heard the shots though. It gave him away on his first peek. That's where Tizian's going to punish. Good reaction from Paz. He tries to go for one of the last ones here, but he's very low. Down to 17 HP, and unfortunately, the guys from alternate attacks are not going to give him anything else.
Yeah, in these post-plant scenarios, alternate attacks just playing it perfectly every round. It seems so hard for Space Soldiers to get that retake working. It's the exact same thing as last round. They get to the B-bomb site, they have to start the retake, and it just crumbles in their hands pretty much. And which brings alternate attacks on 13-9 and forces Space Soldiers in this very weird round where we see 4 Deagles and 1 AWP glass cannon.
Full glass cannon too. He's got nothing else sitting behind.
Got
that.
nothing.
It's not even like he had a choice for utility. It's like, I'm buying this guy. It's going all in.
Yeah. Well, that's what you have to do basically when you're 9-13, and well, you have to do something crazy. And crazy has been achieved. Let's see if they can make it work. Very careful play right now from alternate attacks, of course. Not gonna fall to anything out of the ordinary. Not gonna fall to any crazy pushes. Just taking map control slowly but surely.
We can see Paz starting to line up here too. Misses his chance to catch one or two of the guys from alternate attacks pushing suicide, but obviously good intentions behind that miss since it keeps him alive for a bit longer. Great smoke setup too. I don't think Paz can see anything through that at all. That's nice and flush there in the archway. It's got a little corner I think at the bottom right, but that's it.
He's just trying to hold that corner, just making sure that no one can pass, and the setup is coming right now. There goes the flashbang. No one really affected by it, and they're just waiting out, just waiting to see what the execute's going to be. The CT is of course very, very careful not to push too aggressively and get caught up by these terrorists. Just a standoff right now.
Complete standoff, but only 30 seconds left, so alternate attacks, you need to go into this site soon. Defenders are still weak on the site beyond this, but Paz is ready, gets some good damage, but ultimately loses that first battle. Now the rest of the team needs to explode, because those rotations are going to be fast. Exactly. But this low of a time, there is no chance of a rotator, a swing back, or even really a fake at this point, too. They need to fully commit themselves into this one. That's a nice shot from Engine, and Despy finds one, too. Tuguk's jumping down. Oh, my goodness, they're falling apart. Xantares finds one of the final kills, and Despy chimes in with the op. The Gambit play works out with that op, picks up 2 kills, when Space Soldiers somehow pick up that round.
Yeah, it was just perfect. Just waiting out the time when they know, okay, this is going to be an A hit. They have not seen anything else. The rotation's coming quick. Despy on the most defensive position on the back of that B bomb site, on the back of that A bomb site, excuse me. Just sitting there with the AWP, just doing the cannon, just picking out players left and right and just winning that. And the Deagles, the close range Deagles, not even 1-Deags or anything like that. Just close range, couple of shots, just getting it in. And yeah, Space Soldiers getting the round. 10-13 now, and we do see the force buy, the Tech 9 buy coming in from outside attacks. Good molly there, blocking off Tizian and his mates, so they're not going to get any entries from that position at least. But here we go.
We're still ready to move in, however, smokes are not really going to be a problem when you got Tech 9s. You can easily just leap through those and see what you can pick up on the other side of that one, and then they will move in. Actually, almost catching Xantares at a moment's notice too, but an immediate flick back from him. He grabs the kill. Engine and Despy finding 2 more. Searson's found 1 along the way here, but beyond that, the hit from Alternate Attacks goes absolutely nowhere in that round. It is very quickly shut down, and they will find their 11th. Only 2 more away from tying this up now.
Yeah, and also with Alternate Attacks being on a complete eco now, maybe some P250s, but pretty much an eco from them. Space Soldiers are going to pretty much have this one on the board for them. Hopefully they can bring this into the basically the closing rounds around that number 30 mark. And with that economy they have rolling as well on the Space Soldier side, this is very doable for them.
Well, we'll see Alternate Attacks split themselves up as best they can. No decisive play being made here yet. However, crisby, very early peek over there with Glock. See if he can catch anyone there with a trip shot. Not going to work. We've also got a position here, too, from Paz. Maybe our first battle here if Tizian fully commits to it. He's actually got quite a few players sitting behind him. Oh! They've caught him with a nade in hand, but doesn't do all that much damage on the initial push. Only 50 HP. Despite the fact it looks like he's dinked there. And now Engine, he's able to get into position. There's 1, 2, 3. Looking for the 4th. Paz will chime in for that one. Last man standing will be Kiev rotating over, trying to line up an eagle shot, but it's not going to happen. Xantares chimes in for the final pickup there. And that will put us within 1 round of a tie game. And Alternate Attacks losing their lead that they've had for this entire match so far.
Yeah. This is the time to shine pretty much for Space Soldiers. Now they have to muster the last of their will, the last of their forces, and take this game pretty much, because they have been on the back foot for the entirety of Cobblestone. Now they have the economy. They have several players in 6,000 and above. Alternate Attacks pretty much wrecked after buying fully up this one. So this is the time to shine for Space Soldiers. This is where they can bring the ball in their court and start and dictate the game economically and also round-wise.
Well, they'll start to push up here, and again, it's Paz's assignment to watch out for the pushes over here at long. They've only got Tizian aggressing over towards platform, but he's pretty forward with it too. He's already pushed up pretty far, I think, towards the edge of Broken itself, maybe peeking out onto the site already. We'll check that out in a moment, but Paz sitting back here now. He falls back a bit after spotting some of the initial play, and Xantares will get knocked out by Tizian. So the play on B doesn't go anywhere, and with Paz already spotting some of this, as you can see on the minimap, the rotation's already being drawn over. Paz even taking the battle too. Knocks out Searson. They're down to 3 on Alternate Attacks his side, and Paz is pre-firing right into it. Buys time for Despy to get into position, and there you go. Again, the hit doesn't even get onto the general area of the site, just absolutely destroyed. Kazuya tries to sneak up, but Despy again with a quick shot shuts it down, and there you have it. Tied now at 13 all.
13 all. Going to be very interesting these last couple of rounds of this map. And we talked about, the desk talked about it as well, Cobblestone being a good pick for both teams, but definitely Space Soldiers. This is one of their favorite maps. And they've shown it especially here in the last couple of rounds. They've been playing phenomenally and now bringing it back. And, well, who can come out on top? No one really knows now. This is all on the line for this one.
Looked a bit shaky on the T side for Space Soldiers.
Yeah.
I mean, really, both teams looking a bit shaky now on the T sides. Space Soldiers were trying a lot, but the guys from Alternate Attacks were getting some really great reads until the very end, and now we're seeing the situation flipped here, and it's Alternate Attacks that cannot seem to find their entries into the sites to even get this started here. It's not a matter of them being detected, it's just the initial battle is almost always going in the way of Space Soldiers.
So, pause over. Space Soldiers coach said what he had to say, and hopefully that can be the last thing that takes them over the hill and brings them into this win. The last feedback from Hardstyle, the coach there. Alternate Attacks, on the other hand, just probably waiting to get this one going with the speed, and what they're going to do in this round is pretty much going to be Tech 9. Just train, maybe. Just waiting up, setting up, and then at some point doing the full execute. 2 flashes and smoke. Pretty much the standard for doing this. And here we go. Push down to drop. Tugux will get 1, will get 2, just shutting it down. And how he survived that is beyond me.
How much? He survives that with 25 health as well, so that's not necessarily impressive stuff from Tugux, but more of a big mistake for Alternate Attacks. They both jump down, they both have positioning. He's out in the open, it's not like he's hiding behind cover or anything. And somehow he's able to, not only that too, but it looks like Tugux messes up his spray initially too, and he's able to recover that, knock them both out. That was a bit of a messy situation really for both sides, but it's not much better for Space Soldiers, as we can see. Nades going, and they know they've tried to take drop control. They were able to hear the fall down, I believe. Kazuya is going to try to jump out this window, but this is very, very predictable here. 2 kills already for Space Soldiers, and at this point, it just looks like they're in full control.
Yeah, definitely. This is a completely different Space Soldiers from what we saw in the beginning of the first half, where they did look very shaky in pretty much every round they played. Now they look in control. Now they look confident, and well, it of course helps when your opponents aren't really getting the kills, like we saw with Tugix in there. Probably glad that he can run away alive after that. But it's going to be 14-13. Look at the money. 3 players over 10k on the Space Soldier side. Money's not going to be an issue anymore for them in this game, so they're going to be fully bought up for every single round. Alternate attacks, of course, every time they buy up, their economy goes down to 0. So that could be one of the deciding factors in this one, but let's see. Kiev on an AWP, Despy on an AWP, and as they talked about on the desk, the battle of the AWPs. We haven't really seen them square off against each other, but they have been the 2 driving forces behind these teams.
It's got to be a win out from this point forward here. Alternate attacks. They are going to try to start out with a lot of noise to be saying, this has worked. Look at all the players in here. Not only that, but they've got the first kill. That is what could sell it here. But oh no, they got to be careful of that Molotov. Tizian a little bit low, and Tugix up close and personal. He finds Crisby, but Tizian's still here. They still have so many players in the site. Paz has just now realized the ruse, but oh my goodness, Paz doing so much damage, and he just shuts it down on his own. Paz with the huge play, and he saves the round again for Space Soldiers.
That was a perfect read from alternate attacks, but then just get shot down completely by Paz. There was no way in hell that was gonna, like, they planned for that, planned for him being in, and planned for him hitting all those shots. That was perfect spray control.
They line right up for him, and Paz just capitalizes on it. Look at this huge stack. This last player dives into a corner. Paz knows he's there. He's at 15 HP. Doesn't matter, though. Lines the last 2 and destroys it. It's beautiful stuff from Paz. I thought that was going to collapse on that side with it just being him, but it goes in the opposite direction.
So, 15-13, round number 29. We said this was going to go down to the wire, and it has not disappointed. Alternate attacks looking in control during the entire game, and now in the last couple of rounds, Space Soldiers are the ones close to the victory. But look at this, Serson and Kiev both coming in with one. Smoke's going down, and Crisby here trying to get on that bomb side. The bomb is on the back of Crisby. He gets that opening trap, can't get that bomb down, and now it's looking good for alternate attacks. Paz and Despay, the heroes for Space Soldiers. Can they bring this one home? Crisby goes down, Serson on 1 HP. This is doable if Despay can land a shot here.
He hasn't spotted the players on steps yet, and they're going to be able to hear him now. Got to be very, very careful about it. The flashbang comes in. Despy almost finds himself dead, but he's able to get behind cover. And oh, the turnaround from Despy knocks out Kazuya. Unfortunately, he's lost his teammate, so it's just come down to him. But alternate attacks, they're going to strike back, and they find at least one more round to forge with. This goes down to round number 30. However, Space Soldiers, as you mentioned a couple rounds ago, no problems with that rebuy at all.
16k on Despay, man. 16k. Oh, wow. It goes all the way down to the wire. 30 rounds is going to be needed to separate these 2 teams, and perhaps even more.
Also, a double op setup now coming in from Space Soldiers, something we haven't seen from either team. Apologies, so far in this match. It's going to be the first time it's been busted out, and it'll certainly surprise, as Kiev is actually going to take his op over here to Rapunzel and see if he can find anyone playing aggressively out from those tunnels. Won't be the case. Space Soldiers are still playing a fairly default CT side here currently.
I actually really like this. One guy just watching for the lurks, coming in from mid and long on A, and then the rest of the guys just being posted up in those B holes, ready to explode at any given time. And let's see if that's going to work out for them. Tugix once again in drop zone. Going to be looking to improve over that last performance we saw from him. Probably going to control the spray a bit better, and he is a player who has immaculate spray control, has been playing on a top level for such a long time. Even when he was back in Source, back in the days, coming in as a young talent, he was just very, very much in control of what he did. And here we go, the push is going to come in. Santaris with the first one. Can he pick up the second one? Damage being done, and he's going to pick it up. Space Soldiers still alive in this one, looking to bring it home for Turkey. Santaris here at the start of the team, holding down the site. They can't get in as long as he's there. He spots another one. It's the 3K for Santaris. Can he do it? Lantaris, the man, the myth, the legend. He will be shot down by Kiev, though. And now it's a 2v3.
But the damage done certainly rings true, and there's going to be Despy picking up one of the final kills against Crisby. It all falls to Kiev himself. The Clutch Master will try to pick up some more kills. He's got Despy down very low to 14 HP, but he's got to be very, very careful of being flanked out here too. His 2 players about to push out. He tries to play it aggressively. It works, but he's got to be careful of the broken wall, and he's not going to be able to work it out. Paz rolls in, shuts it down, and with that, Space Soldiers mount a very impressive comeback, and they will grab their first game here at the Minor.
That was just absolutely perfect from Space Soldiers. That ending, just them going, it's almost like a Cinderella story, just going from pretty much nothing and then slowly, gradually going into the game, evolving, and then in the end just playing it perfectly. That was just great from Space Soldiers. Great to see them as a team also just sticking by each other and just improving time over and time over again.
At one point, it looks like that half is going to end 12-3, and that's where I feel like there's very, very little room at all for Space Soldiers to come back. But they managed to find those last couple of rounds, and in addition to starting off really great in the second half, it's what gives them that last little boost to be able to push through and take control of things there. That and the really great stuff from like Paz and Santoris that we saw in the second half that wasn't really there in the first half all that much.
No, definitely not. And they really showed up. They woke up, and them waking up definitely just helped them in the last round as well. As I talked about, Lantaris just coming in with the triple, just doing it for his team and bringing them the victory.
Yeah. All right. So I was told we can summon the analysts now. So we're gonna bring them into the picture. Alex, how's it going?
Hello. Boys, Lantaris, top of the scoreboard, 20 frags. Is that your biggest takeaway from that one?
It is a big takeaway, but I have to say that he's usually the guy we talk about on Space Soldiers. But throughout this game, the other players, definitely Paz and definitely Despe, did amazing job. So I have to say kudos to them.
You still can't underestimate Kiev as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys talked about it as well with this clutch ability, and there were quite a few rounds where that showed in huge strides. So even going forward, their teams going up against Attax are going to be very, very careful of how they play against him.
Yeah, we better hope Space Soldiers were recording their demo from the start. For sure. All right, thanks very much, guys. We're going to go ahead and talk to Natu and Vendetta about that one.
You went there.
I didn't go.
Deep water, straight from the get-go. Why not?
Either way, I mean, we look smart. Who said Space Soldiers? Woo! See you later, Natu.
Yeah.
As the door's over there. But
all right.
Who am I? I don't know who I've become.
Wow.
I'm just going to start doing a tally, though, because it's always us, right? We actually can do full-on prediction scores. That's always fun.
So
just gonna
especially when you're in the lead.
Just going to put a big tick by my name. Big tick. And how for... Yeah, there we go.
Just type like 100%, obviously.
100% accuracy so far. But I want to actually go... Let's start with the end. Space Soldiers picking up that victory, and you guys just sit off there going... I'm going for that boost again. It felt like rinse and repeat from alternate attacks, and there weren't actually too many alternate attacks to their T side, Halvor.
Ooh, cheeky. No, there wasn't. And I guess that's one of the big differences you see between Tier 1 teams and Tier 2 teams, or Tier 3 teams for that matter. The fact that they do kind of get stuck in their own ways because they don't have that many elaborate strategies, or they don't have the mind, ability to just come up with new things on the fly. And that's definitely something that's going to be punishing. You saw the same issue really for Space Soldiers as well on their T side. The fact that they didn't actually fully adapt to the fact that alternative attacks actually went aggressive a lot of the time and didn't allow for them to do their full set executes or actually just gain the map control that they are used to just being given. So that's definitely something that's a massive potential for improvement for a lot of the teams.
Such a strong defense, though, from alternate attacks. We were actually sitting there in the green room almost expecting this to be over, Natu, after that's such a 10-round CT side.
Yeah, both sides having great CT sides, but I mean, it comes down to also, it has to be said, slightly lackluster in the T sides for both teams. Why we often say it's a T-sided map because there's very limited options for the CTs, and it's easy to sandwich this bomb side, especially that B bomb side. Why you see the execute towards B bomb side be so effective is because the best teams are so good at pacing their attacks. So what I mean by that is you'll have a certain flow of how people are going to come in through drop and how they come in through B long, and so that they make it super uncomfortable for the CTs. But we really didn't get to see any of that from either side on this map.
I mean, we did get to see a great deal of Kiev. He was just standing vigilant on that B side, at least in the first half. Admittedly, T side was a little bit more difficult for him. But
also, I mean, you can't get away with losing to anti-ecos, right? I mean, that's not supposed to happen.
That's really what saved Space Soldiers, the fact that they were able to win those 2 eco rounds in the second half.
Yeah.
Outside of that, probably would have been a fairly comfortable Attax victory.
Right. It was 13-9, I think it was, wasn't it? At a time when that second, the first.
I think it's actually this one, like when Attax actually gets to 12 rounds. So here we go. Yeah, this is the first of the 2.
13-9.
It helps when Santoris is hitting 2 shots like that. That does give them a bit of a leg up.
But there you also see one of the issues, though, that so many teams run into, the fact that when you don't commit fully to be executed and you just go off of picks and everything, and this is where the pacing part of it comes into it. It becomes so much easier for the CTs to actually find a frag here and there, and all of a sudden you become, disjointed like
those
no other.
Those 2 kills, like the casters were baffled, and so am I. I assumed they must have been flashed, but there was no flash, and 2 guys just missing a full magazine of Tech 9. and you can see that did get the 14th on the board. This is where Paz just went nuts. So this could have been 3.
It's very well read as well.
And Attax, like they had the perfect game plan. They only have 1 CT now for Space Soldier and A bomb side, and then those are the kind of things you can't really account for, right? They're just, if they're going to happen, they're going to happen. But in generally, like the first half for Space Soldiers, though, like we were laughing off air there, like how they're probably just like nagging on their TeamSpeak or whatever they're using about how random the CTs are right now, because there was a lot of randomness from what the Attax was throwing at the Space Soldiers a lot of the time to the CT side. But that's the thing about between Tier 2, Tier 1 teams, is that you kind of have to have the plan B if that kind of aggression is shown by the CTs. You either slow down your pace, or you kind of have like a way of taking over, like let's say A long really fast. You have specific smokes and flash you throw in, and then you just kind of brute force your way through and then start building up around. But instead, Space Soldiers going in one by one, kind of getting wrecked.
And there wasn't too much evidence of that depth on the T side for either team, right? Like that seems to be our biggest takeaway from this, is that Cobblestone T side was not particularly overwhelming from either. I mean, if you had to choose who had the more depth their T side, Halvor?
Honestly,
that's not an easy question to answer. I guess.
I think it's pretty much an even race between the two teams.
Well, what was it? I mean, 5 rounds for Space Soldiers, 4 for the CT side, the T side of Attax.
And you have to
like
take into
later stages too.
And you have to take into consideration the fact that Space Soldiers, with getting those 5 rounds, that was with winning the pistol as well. They did lose the 3rd round, but they got 2 pretty much free rounds
now,
after that.
You can tell in the later rounds they got through B executes, where they finally managed to get an opening kill and drop. That's a big part of it. When you get an opening kill and drop, and then that's when the kind of a domino effect happens on that B bomb side, where it becomes really uncomfortable for the CTs. You have so many angles you kind of have to cover at that point. So that was kind of the issue they had. They never really got the opening going to the B bomb side.
A pick and drop means that you're panicking about the A players. Could they come from? You don't call it pillar. I'm going to call it pillar, not what else we call it in my pug.
What could that be?
I
wonder.
A masturbatory aid is the name we call it. Yeah. Either way, we did see Santaris at the top of the scoreboard, as we kind of anticipated. Look at that, 29 frags, nearly dropping the 30. And yes, we outlined that it wouldn't just be the Santaris show, and it wasn't. Pez, big performance from him, and Space Soldiers picking up a win that it seems like us on the desk don't necessarily think it would have gone that way had they dealt with the anti-ecos a bit better, of course, from the CT side of Alternate Attacks. Not out of the woods yet, though. This is just their first best of 1, but a solid start for the Turkish side and getting 1 leg up in, well, not only to the 50,000, but also to a spot at the major qualifier, which will be coming up later on this month. Gentlemen, closing thoughts on Alternate Attacks and Space Soldiers. It does seem like both of but our takeaways are more negative for both sides than positive, right? I mean, Santaris played well, but you guys are more critical than praise.
Yeah, well, I guess it's you could go the other route and say that strong CT sides from both teams, but I think that's more down to the fact that their T sides became very predictable for both sides eventually, more than anything, which is a bit of a shame. But first game of the tournament, I think both teams can easily get off to a rough start and get back into it. It's not like any of the teams are out, but at this point, or Attax is just in dire straits.
I think
I think you can get away with predictability even if we have really good executes and you're really good. You drill down how you get on that bomb side, especially on the B bomb side on Cobblestone. You can brute force your way in there, but none of which was seen from either side. Right?
Well, yeah, I think the problem with when you become too predictable at a point, you become easily abusable, especially if you're relying on setting up for big executes onto the sites. Then you can have this random aggression, that comes out that we saw from Attax, etc. That just throws you off if you're Space Soldiers completely. So that's the biggest worry you have if you're your team and you do rely heavily on executes.
So more setups.
Well, it's going to be hard to do if you become very predictable. If you only do setups, right, then the CT side can abuse that, even on a map like Cobblestone.
Well, I mean, talking of setups, that's actually what we're going to do next. We're going to be taking a break while Godsent and LDLC do setup for our second best of 1 here at the European Minor. Brought to you by PGL. We're going to take a quick break. When we do come back, Godsent, they need to hit the ground running. They have got a lot on their plate coming into this minor and a whole lot to prove. So we'll be finding out how they perform versus French LDLC after the break.